I'll be presenting evidence for why certain ideologies may have had strengths or positive aspects. I want to preface this in two ways. I do not support the pure form, or in some cases any form, of these ideologies. I'll be using the commonly understood definitions of these systems, for example referring to the Soviet Union as communist, the US as capitalist, and Nazi Germany as fascist, and so on and so forth. I'm using my knowledge of history and my well-versed knowledge of Nazi Germany for my defense of the fascist ideology. The definition of fascism is, defined by myself, a dictatorial-based ideology where its roots are based on the suffering of a patriotic defeat led by a superior ethnic class like the Aryan race and was caused by an inferior ethnic class like the Jewish religion. I am not promoting the actions that any fascists did to minorities. I am going to discuss how they succeeded. Much of the fascist movement relies on the forced labor and or elimination in any way possible of minorities. The best way to describe it is that it is slavery but used to fuel the government and the economy. I am now saying that much of the victories of the fascist regimes was achieved by slave labor. Fascism has no clear start, but the closest we can get is when Adolf Hitler entered the political scene. He was at the time and onward a huge anti-Semite. He believed the idea that the Jewish politicians were the ones who surrendered Germany in World War I, and Hitler would see that the Germans needed to take vengeance on what they lost. He would see his start when he was sent to spy on the National Socialist Party of Germany. He would join it and start spewing his hateful speech. Many Germans feeling the same way would support the party. Chancellor Hindenburg would give Hitler the role that essentially sidelined him. But when Hindenburg died and a fire broke out at the Chancellery, Hitler would seize his power. Hitler and his Nazi allies would start a propaganda campaign. Loyalist Joseph Goebbels would do it in a different way though. What Goebbels did was tap into fears/desires of different groups and deployed pro-Nazi propaganda saying that they can fix it. This barter campaign was enough to ensure the Nazis would stay in power. Hitler would start the rebuilding of the economy, but he would gear it for war. This was in direct contrast to many Western countries where they wanted stability. Hitler would use the hatred of the Jewish person and religion as an excuse to send them to labor camps to improve the industry. He would also institute a control economy, which, again defined by me, is an economy where prices are regulated by the government and not the market. Tie that in with public works projects, the government taking control of many jobs, the German economy would start rebounding. The German government would gear their economy to be able to sustain a war effort, and to do so, they would need to rearm their military. To solve the problem of not having money to pay for it, designed by Hjalmar Schacht, MEFO bills were established, a secondary bill. What it could do is act as new money for the arms companies that sold to the government. What would happen is they would receive MEFO bills and wait 9 months to sell it, or 5 years for them to get more money through interest. Eventually, that would lead to a debt that would need to be paid off, and they would do that with their second economic way, Conquest. The Anschluss was important for prestigious reasons, but more so for economic ones. Hitler would take Austrian money and gold to pay off the MEFO bill debt, allowing more investments in the MEFO bills. The German war economy has proven to be able to easily compete with the recovering French and British industries, even going on to compete with the United States production in 1941 to 1942. The German control economy and direct management of the industry, the Germans were much more free to add rations and ensure they get what they needed. When the Soviets outproduced them in the air and destroyed their air force, and the Allies bombed German industry, the German Reich would be able to use slave labor to keep their production barely afloat.